Tyreek Hill trade rumors are back. After thinking they were completely done, they have been reignited because of an interesting quote dropped in by Bill Simmons. Simmons went on the Bill Simmons Podcast and shared some interesting information about a conversation and interaction he had with Tyreek Hill or someone in Tyreek Hill's camp at Super Bowl 59 during Radio Row, and we need to discuss it because it could be a blockbuster trade, but I still don't know if Hill's ultimately going to get dealt. We'll talk that and more on today's show. I am Nic Rohloff. This is Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. Thank you for taking part of your day to watch this video. And it is an interesting one because after Week 18 against the Jets, Tyreek Hill requested a trade. Now, he did technically walk it back during Radio Row of Super Bowl 59, which we'll show his comments here in just a second. But I wanted to actually display what Bill Simmons said on his podcast about Tyreek Hill first. He said that somebody, when they were talking to Tyreek Hill, was with Tyreek, said, watch out for the Chargers, because Bill Simmons was joking with Tyreek Hill and his camp about, hey, come to New England, team up with Drake May. Hill was like, nah, but then someone with his camp said, watch out for the Chargers. And it's a really stunning quote and not really one that makes a lot of sense in terms of why he would get traded away from Miami. And coming up, I have my instant reaction on that quote about a potential Tyreek Hill Chargers trade. But I did want to get your help here because we are in a competition in the month of February to get the most shares out of these four channels: Dolphins, Steelers, Chiefs, and Broncos. We currently are third out of these four teams. We're ahead of the Broncos, but behind both the Chiefs Report and Steelers Talk, which is disappointing. But help us out, spread the word of Dolphins Today, and get this video out to more Dolphins fans. All right, instant reaction to this little quote dropped by Bill Simmons. There's no reason for Bill Simmons to lie, and I don't think Bill Simmons would lie about hearing this quote from someone in Tyreek Hill's camp. But Tyreek Hill is not going to be traded for a variety of reasons because, one, he said he doesn't want to be traded anymore. The Dolphins don't want to trade him, and it's nearly impossible to trade Tyreek Hill due to his contract in 2025. But I am a little confused on why Bill Simmons would share that information, knowing that he won't get traded and, well, Tyreek doesn't want to get dealt. And to back up this little thought process of Hill not being traded, Ian Rappaport basically confirmed it, that Tyreek Hill walked back his previous comments, making it clear that he's staying in Miami. He wants to be in the Dolphins organization for 2025, and I don't blame him. He cited a lot of reasons of his family's down here. They just rebuilt his house. He likes playing in warm weather, doesn't like the cold. And then we know that he feels that type of way now because he did finally walk back his comments at Radio Row on the Kay Adams show and other radio spots and TV spots, saying that I don't want to go nowhere. This is my public apology to you two. I love you, bro. It's clear that he wants to be in Miami now, and we've been told from a source close to Tyreek Hill that he does want to be in Miami. And that's why these trade rumors surfacing are a little bit odd, because I thought we finally put this in the rearview mirror and we could stop talking about it because he's not going to be traded. But let me know your thoughts. Predict it for me. Will Tyreek Hill get traded or will he be kept? Type T for traded, type K for kept. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section on what ultimately happens with Tyreek Hill in the NFL offseason. If it's not obvious enough, I believe he is staying in Miami. And I'll be honest, if the Dolphins could trade Tyreek Hill, I think they would explore the idea. But due to his contract situation and him walking back his trade request comments, it feels like it's a guarantee he is playing with the Miami Dolphins in 2025. And Hill's contract is just simply not movable, folks. He has a $27.7 million cap hit this upcoming year. But it gets actually larger if the Dolphins were to trade him before June 1st to get draft capital in 2025, it's a $28.3 million cap hit. And I tell you what, folks, the Dolphins are not going to trade Tyreek Hill if they are not saving any money. Now, they would save money, about $15 million, if they traded him after June 1st, but he's not going to net Miami any draft compensation for 2025, which kind of makes it redundant to move off of Tyreek Hill. And you see it, he's under contract for one more season, $51.8 million cap hit. And the point of showing this information is that at least as we currently stand on mid-February of 2025, Hill's contract is brutal to move. It becomes easier to trade after June 1st, but then at that point, what would be the reasoning for the Dolphins to trade Tyreek Hill? Because you're not going to any draft capital for 2025, which means you're basically just losing Tyreek Hill from your roster and only gaining about $15 million in cap space. It doesn't really make sense for Miami to do that, but there could be a move that makes sense in 2026 or at the deadline at 2025 season, which we'll discuss here in just a second. But I got to show some major love to our sponsor, and that is Mando, the #1 whole body deodorant out there. And during this time of year, I only trust Mando to make sure I'm smelling right. It is the #1 whole body deodorant that gives me confidence when I leave the house, and especially when I'm going on dates. Mando is safe to use anywhere on your body. It's created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO is being misdiagnosed and mistreated, clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, plus free shipping. And I have a couple products in studio with me today. My personal favorite, which is the Mount Fuji scent. I think it's perfect. The solid stick deodorant makes me very, very happy, but also the deodorant wipes, which is very helpful on the go when I'm playing basketball, golfing, or traveling. I always bring these things with me to make sure I can apply at any time and make sure I'm never the smelly person in the room. And we have a special offer for our listeners. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code CHAT. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you use code CHAT at shopmando.com. shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. That link is in the description and comments of today's video. Although I said that Tyreek Hill will not be traded, and I truly believe Tyreek Hill will not be dealt, this will be Tyreek Hill's last season in a Miami Dolphins uniform. You might ask why, but it's pretty obvious when you look at his contract for the 2026 season. It is the final year of his deal. He has a $52 million cap hit in 2026, but if the Dolphins were to cut him pre-June 1st next offseason, it saves Miami $36.3 million and only leaves $15.5 million in dead cap. If they do post-June 1st one cut, it's $39.1 million in savings and only $12.7 million in cap hit. Or in dead cap. Tyreek Hill's going to be 32. He's a little bit of a headache. Last year of his deal, it's an obvious inevitability. Tyreek Hill is going to be released next season or after next season, but I could actually see it happening before that. If the Dolphins get off to a bad start, they could just trade Tyreek Hill at the NFL trade deadline. It sounded like Tyreek wanted to get traded at the deadline this past season, and it was widely rumored that he wanted to rejoin the Kansas City Chiefs. Ultimately didn't happen, but there is a very obvious situation here that I think will ultimately go down where Tyreek Hill plays out the last year of his deal, and unless he goes nuts again for 1,700 yards and shows that he's still a top 3, top 5 wide receiver in football, I would expect Miami to move on from Tyreek Hill and proceed forward with Jalen Waddle as their wide receiver 1 and build their room around Jalen. It makes too much sense for me that this is last year for Tyreek Hill. And let me know, is it the last dance for Tyreek Hill? Will he be on the Dolphins for the 2026 NFL season? Type Y if you think he is. Type N if you think he will not be. Well, if this is the last season for Tyreek Hill, it's been quite the ride, and he's played at an elite level ever since joining the Miami Dolphins in that trade with Kansas City. This past season, he didn't eclipse 1,000 yards, which is a disappointment, but hardly can blame him dealing with that wrist injury. Tua was only available for 11 games, but the previous 2 seasons combining for 1,500 yards, just absolutely spectacular stuff from Tyreek Hill. 20 touchdowns, already a top 5, top 3 wide receiver in Miami Dolphins history, and he's only played 3 seasons. Tyreek Hill has been fantastic, and he still has some left in the tank too. I kind of showcased some of these numbers halfway through the year, and it wasn't a good kind of conversation to have. It was like Tyreek Hill might be washed, but he closed the year pretty strong in his advanced numbers against man coverage and separation, ranking in the top 15 in both route win rate and route wins total. He had a good win rate versus man at 38.1% and was top 50 in QB rating per target and added EPA when being used. So Tyreek Hill is very, very good. There's no debate. He's still got a lot in the tank. Drop issues, yeah, but some of that was helped by his wrist injury. So hopefully he stays healthy in 2025 and returns to a 1,200, 1,300-yard receiver to round out his Miami tenure, because I think the Dolphins do need to start planning for life without Tyreek Hill. Like I mentioned, based off his contract information, he's not playing on that $52 million cap hit next year. It's just going to be impossible to do that. And is Miami going to extend him? Are they going to restructure his deal now? Like, that seems far-fetched for a wide receiver reaching 32 years old. So that release post-June 1st to save $39 million in cap space probably is the most likely. So you should probably start looking at wide receivers that you can draft now to get into your system, start developing to potentially be your wide receiver 2 to Jalen Waddle and Malik Washington next season. And these 8 names are day 2/day 3 targets that I am intrigued by, because they are all 6'2", 6'3 plus, could be contested catch guys and red zone threats on the outside, and be a really good complement to Jalen Waddle, who can play outside, can play inside. A couple of these guys that I really like: Trey Harris from Ole Miss, Jaden Higgins from Iowa State, Pat Bryant from Illinois, Jalen Royals from Utah State. Those 4 are 4 guys that I am really looking at. Eric Iomanor from Stanford is actually getting really close to being a late first-round target, early day 2, so I might be out on him just purely because of value. But the other 7 names on the list are going to be mid to late day 2 targets, and I am very intrigued by adding these guys for size on the perimeter to be your 4th wide receiver this year and potential 2nd X wide receiver next season. And that's why you subscribe to the channel, because we're already looking ahead to the 2025 season as well as the 2026 offseason. We'll have you covered with everything you need to know surrounding the Miami Dolphins. So join the channel and subscribe today.